All right, folks. We got a dandy of a show for you today. Going to bring in my special guest who's going to help me with this show, and that's going to be none other than Mr. Davey Cretin from Cretin Classics. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me on again, Joseph, sir.
All right. Well, we got a uh special band we decided to do in honor of them finally, once and for all, being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just a couple weekends ago here. Wow. Finally, Foreigner can say they are Hall of Fame material. And as you can see, I got my Lou Gramm album cover behind me, and we're going to celebrate the songs of Foreigner by doing the top 10 Foreigner songs. And we're going to also throw out three honorable mentions each. So tell us about how when you first heard Foreigner and what got you liking their music and everything.
That would have to be in 1977 when I discovered the FM band, Rock and Roll Radio, in New York City here, WNEW FM and WPLJ 95.5. Now they're a pop station, but back in the day, that was my station. And I found this station in 19 or these stations in 77. And that's when I discovered Styx and Foreigner and all these other bands that weren't played really on AM radio at the time. And my mind expanded and exploded, and it opened up to all kinds of new vistas and views and rock and roll, baby. Blah, 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 bam, boom. 1977 was the year for me. And that's right when the first Foreigner record came out. So I was there, boots on the ground, listening to these great songs. As a wee
Nice.
lad, I was a wee lad back then.
Yeah, I didn't really become familiar with them until about 79. That's kind of when I first started listening to rock radio. So I like Head Games was the song that I first heard by them, and then from there, obviously, went back and started hearing all the other songs. And they were actually one of my first concerts that I ever got to see.
Wow.
Um, it was 1985, but I didn't start really going to shows until the fall of 1984. And Foreigner was in May of 1985 on a big tour for Agent Provocateur with Jafria was the opening band on that tour on that leg.
Oh,
So yeah, very rare. They didn't play many shows, but Jafria, as you can see from a previous video I did, are very important to me, even though they only recorded two albums. But they were great on this tour, so I'm so fortunate to have seen them live. But yeah, getting back to Foreigner, let's dig right in and start talking some Foreigner here. So we got three honorable mentions. I'll let you list off your three and tell us about them. What do you got for your number 13 there?
okay. But first, before I do that, you mentioned your first Foreigner concert experience. Mine was, I think, my second or third concert, 1981 on the Foreigner 4 tour, Nassau Coliseum. I saw Billy Squier on the Don't Say No tour open up for Foreigner on the Foreigner 4 tour. And I remember Foreigner had these big, giant inflatable jukeboxes on the side of the stage, which Rush would do years later with their bunny rabbits on the Presto tour. Same venue, Nassau Coliseum. I saw that. And I thought Foreigner were good, but they had just lost two members and they had three extra guys on stage. And as a kid at the time, I don't know if I realized it, but they went from a sextet to a quartet, yet they had two keyboard players. One guy was, I think, playing sax on Urgent, stuff like that, and probably long, long way from home. And they had an extra guitar player. So why lose two members and then take three guys out on tour? Well, it's probably cheaper paying some sidemen than having band members. And I thought Billy Squier was great. And
Hmm.
I've been saying for years, I thought Squier blew them away. He had just such energy and power. And that was a great opening set. But I do like Foreigner, not to disparage Foreigner. My honorable mentions are from 1987, coming in at number 13 here, 4 minutes and 42 seconds. It is actually, I think it's the only Foreigner song written by the four members of the band at the time. Mick Jones on guitar and keyboards, Lou Gramm on the vocals, Rick Wills on the bass guitar, and Dennis Elliott on drums. The song Out of the Blue. And this is just a pop-tastic song. It's so catchy. It has those 80s keyboards, but it's such a great melody. It's undeniable. Out of the Blue is a great deep track. I think it's number 9 on the album out of the 10 songs, eighth or ninth position. So it's very late in the album. It was not a single, but it's a really good, catchy song with great keyboards and some nice Mick Jones power chords underneath. And of course, a great vocal by Lou Gramm. Can't go without saying, great Lou Gramm vocal. Here's an odd one at my number 12 honorable mention from 1978, 3 minutes 56 seconds, written by keyboard great Al Greenwood, who was also in the band Spies, and he played on Joe Lynn Turner's album from the mid 80s. So Al Greenwood, underrated, good keyboard player, really good. Ian McDonald, who of course was in King Crimson back in the day and in Foreigner, co-wrote this, and Mick Jones. And this is a rare Foreigner instrumental, and it's called Tramontane or Tramontane. You can pronounce it either way. I did look it up on the internet because who knows how to pronounce this word. But it's a really cool 4-minute instrumental. It's got some great keyboard work from Greenwood and McDonald, and it's just very catchy. And even without Lou Gramm, it's a really good song. So I recommend that on the Double Vision album. And my last one, we're going to move to 1981, 4 minutes and 11 seconds, totally written by Mick Jones from the Foreigner 4 album. And I definitely heard this on the radio back in the day, even though it didn't make the mainstream rock charts in Billboard, a song called Break It Up. More great keyboard work. It opens up with some cool keyboards, and then you get a really nice press roll from Dennis Elliott on the drums, and it brings in the song. You get some really good guitar work from Mick Jones and some nice drumming from Dennis Elliott, where he sort of follows the guitar rhythm, but he does the strum work. It's really nice, great intro. Break It Up, another really good deep track. So those are my 3 honorable mentions.
All right, very good. We may hear one of those 3 later on in this episode. Stay tuned.
Nice.
Only way you're going to find out is if you stay tuned. All right, so did you ever look up the meaning of that Tramontane?
It actually means foreigner. That's one of the definitions.
Aha.
And I never knew that until a little while ago, until this afternoon. Oh, my goodness gracious.
That's why I asked you. Okay, awesome.
I did look it up.
All right. All right, so we got some rare. I got a rare track coming up here with my honorable mentions to lead it off. It's gonna come from kind of like a greatest hits compilation album. And in Foreigner, Lord knows if you followed the band, they've got tons of greatest hits compilation albums.
Oh,
And
yeah.
a lot of the later versions have a lot of rare songs that were never released anywhere else. But this one actually had the one I'm talking about featured it's called the Very Best and Beyond, which that one actually featured 3 brand new tracks on it at its time of coming out back in 1992. So this was kind of like they recorded these, after they made the album with Mr. Johnny Edwards, the Unusual Heat album. Lou came back in the band. And actually, the song I'm about to introduce here was co-written by Mick Jones, Lou Gramm, and actually Johnny Edwards, Parthenon Huxley, and Steve Schiff. And it comes from that album. It's called With Heaven on Our Side, which got some airplay, not much, but some. It was the best of the 3 songs that were released on this album, in my estimation. So that was my number 13 with Heaven on Our Side. Another great Lou Gramm vocal, kind of like a ballad, and it's definitely a standout track. And it fits well with the rest of the album because obviously it's a greatest hits compilation and it doesn't sound out of place at all. And so that's my 13. My number 12 comes from an album that I'm not really too fond of. But this song was what made me pay attention to this album. No doubt about that. It was never released as a single, and it was another co-write featuring Mick Jones and Lou Gramm, and that's none other than from Inside Information, Can't Wait. Can't Wait. One of the standout tracks of that album. Probably the best song in my estimation on that album. Um, great vocal, great moody piece, and it got a little bit of airplay here. I don't know if you ever heard it down on your side of neck of the woods down there at all.
On the radio, maybe a
Yeah.
little.
We just didn't have any rock radio at the time. Our main rock radio station folded like in early 1985. And so they didn't have that outlet. They had a couple stations come in and take over to try to bring up a rock station, but they were more focused on Motley Crue and stuff like that at the time, as opposed
Yeah.
to the classic bands. Yeah. But you would hear it every now and then. So Can't Wait is definitely one of the better Foreigner songs that I really enjoy, and that's my second honorable mention at number 12. And my final one I picked up comes from Mr. Moonlight, 1994. It actually peaked on the charts at number 42, so it just missed the top 40, but it came close considering you got to remember what was going on in music at that point in time. So it's till until the end of time. Great song, written by Mick Jones, Lou Gramm, and bass player Bruce Turgeon, who came over from Lou Gramm's solo band with
Yeah,
Lou when they got reunited.
he plays on that album behind you.
Yep, exactly. And he also played with Lou back in the old days before Lou joined Foreigner. For you history buffs, he actually played with Foreigner in Black Sheep, a band out of
Yep.
Rochester, New York.
Up in your neck of the woods.
Yeah. So a lot of history here, but so he gets a co-write on the song, and yeah, just another ballad that Lewis shines on brightly, and the music is just phenomenal. Just missed the top 10, but we had to give it an honorable mention because it's such a great song. And he almost made the top 40 at that point in time. You can't get any closer than number 42 almost, except for 41, obviously. But that's what I got for my honorable mentions. With Heaven on Our Side, Can't Wait, and Until the End of Time.
With Heaven on Our Side is on my longer list,
Oh,
actually.
all
My
right.
list of 28 that I had to whittle down to top 10 and a few honorable mentions. With Heaven on Our Side. Yep, there it is on my bigger list here.
Uh-huh.
So that's a really good song. And you got to love the name Parthenon Huxley. Come on. What a great name. I wish that were my name. Wow.
We'll
Then you
change
could
your name
say,
legally.
then you could say with your special guest, Parthenon Huxley.
Oh,
Love
God.
that name. Okay, so moving into the top 10, 1979 is the year I'm going to. Their third album, Head Games, 3 minutes and 18 seconds. All the songs on my list are under 5 minutes. I
Hmm.
can't believe it. I thought some of these songs were longer, actually.
Yeah.
Foreigner have a lot of short songs, and they're just so catchy. They're packed with hooks and earworms, and you remember them, and you love them, and you rock out to them. This song is written by Mick Jones and Lou Gramm, has some great keyboard work by Al Greenwood on the synthesizers, and I love it. And I love Love on the Telephone. And he talks about pulling the telephone right off the wall. Who has telephones on the wall nowadays? No one. So it's a dated reference, but it's a really good rock and roll song with some great keyboard work. So Love on the Telephone is my number 10 from Head Games. Coming in at number 9, moving to that dreaded album from 1984. I've always had a vendetta. I've always had it in for this album, Agent Provocateur. Ooh, gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like the production. I don't think there were great songs on this album. It's one of their weakest albums, if not their worst album. But this song was a single, and I love this track. It's catchy. And in 1985, for 19 weeks, it was on the rock and roll chart, the mainstream rock chart in Billboard, peaking at number 4. And this song is called That Was Yesterday, written by Jones and Graham. 3 minutes, 46 seconds. It's catchy. It's great. This sounds like a Foreigner song. And to me, a lot of the other songs on this record just aren't up to snuff. So my lone entry from Agent Provocateur is That Was Yesterday. Excellent song. So those are my 10 and 9. Love on the Telephone That was yesterday.
Yeah, I'm surprised you had anything from Agent on there the way you've talked about it in the past. So that's a good surprise there for me. I didn't expect anything from that album from you. All right, very good. You definitely kept me guessing there. All right, so before we go any further, what's your guess at how many songs we're going to have the same out of these 13 choices here? Usually we always say that before we start, but I kind of forgot to ask you.
You made a comment that you had a lot of songs that were not released as singles that were deep tracks.
Yeah,
I'm guessing four, maybe five.
or maybe five. Okay, we'll see what we got here. We'll match it up at the end. Okay, good. All right, so my number 10 was a single. It was a hit. It was a top five smash. It was landed at number three, actually, all the way from the second album, the Double Vision album. It's a high energy song that gets the blood boiling. None other than Hot Blooded. Check it and see. So,
Overplayed.
yeah, number 10. Yeah, it doesn't really get anything up here. We don't see much of it anymore. But I would say probably 10 years ago, the song was probably my top five. But over the last 10 years, I've grown fonder on other songs, which happens, But it's still one of those special songs that I've always liked from Foreigner. Lou's vocals phenomenal on it, and it's one of the best hard rocking songs that Foreigner ever recorded, no doubt. And it goes over well in concert, no doubt. So that's what I got from my number 10 is Hot Blooded. And number 9, here's one of these choices I mentioned, never released as a single. It's a co-write featuring Lou Gramm and Ian McDonald. Yes, that's right, folks. No Mick Jones. No Mick Jones on the writing credit. Is that a rarity or is that a rarity? I don't know
It
what the
is.
percentage is, but it's rare. It comes from 1979, the Head Games album, and it's just one of four songs that McDonald ever received a co-write on in the band on his three albums worth of work here. And that is none other than Do What You Like from Head
Wow.
Games. I don't know. I've always liked this song in recent years. I feel that this was the standout track from the album compared to the rest of the album. Wasn't overplayed. It wasn't released as a single, so you really rarely got any play at all on the radio. But our station would throw it on every once in a blue moon. Nothing special. I mean, that's how I heard it to begin with. But
I never heard that one on the radio. That's the one with all the acoustic guitars in it too.
yeah, great song. Just a
Different
phenomenal
sound.
song. Yeah, yeah, definitely different. You're right. But that's what I came up with. So I got 10 hot-blooded, 9 do what you like. And that's gonna bring us down to your next two choices.
Joseph, I got a fever. I'm burning up. And you know what I need? I need to see the soul doctor, baby. Soul Doctor, for me, comes in at number 8. A song from an album that you name checked earlier, 1992's The Very Best of and Beyond. And this is the first of the 3 new tracks. It leads off the album, and it's just a great hard rocking number. And it lets you know Lou Gramm is back, Foreigner is back. It's all guitars. It has a great hard rock bluster and swagger, and it's swinging a big pair of cojones on this song. So I really like this song, and this is the one I chose instead of the ballad that you mentioned. Soul Doctor is a really good song, and it did get radio airplay back in the day because it had that hard rock sound, so it fit in on the radio at the time. Really good number. Check it out on the very best of and beyond. Soul Doctor is my number 8. Coming in at number 7, I'm going to hit this record first. 1981. No, I mentioned it already, but this is the first time in the top 10. 1981, Foreigner 4. And I'm picking the deep track written solely by Mick Jones. Coming in at 4 minutes and 42 seconds, Woman in Black. Speaking of hard rock and a lot of guitars, this has some great hard rock riffing and lead work from Mick Jones. Excellent deep track. Always really like this song. Woman in Black is my number 7. So Soul Doctor is 8. Woman in Black, number 7.
Wow, yeah, getting some real deep cuts there. Definitely, no doubt about that. All right. Well, my number 8 is definitely not a deep cut. It's been around a long time. Came out on the debut album, 1977. It's actually one of the songs that Lou Gramm sang at his audition. It peaked at number 4 on the charts, and over the years, it opened many a show, many a show, including the first show that I mentioned that I saw. And it's also the very first song on the very first Foreigner album. And what is it? None other than Feels Like the First
First time.
Time. All right, very good. That's one of those songs that definitely seems like you'll hear it all the time. I don't know. For some reason, I've just never gotten sick of it. So that's why it made my list. It always probably brings back to me that moment in time because that was the first Foreigner song I ever got to see live. They opened the show with it. So, and I had a live recording from that tour. I used to play the
Nice.
heck out of, you know what I mean? Just a great song and memorable vocal. And it was one of the songs that helped get Lou the job here, definitely at the audition. So that's great. And that's none other than my number 8 feels like the first time. My number 7 was never released as a single. Solid theme here. And it's another lead off track to an album. And what a great way to kick off the album, no doubt. We're going back to 1981, Foreigner 4, because we're looking for a little nightlife. Great song. That's one of those songs you're somewhere in some city and you just pull the top down if you can do it on your car and you just crank this song super loud as you're driving around town. Just a phenomenal song. Nightlife in the evening, obviously. You want to drive around in dark listening to this song because that makes more sense. Nightlife. Just a great song. This was one of the songs that I first heard off of Four. Um, because it's like when that album came out, our radio station would play a good portion of the album. They just wouldn't focus on whatever the first single was. That's why I liked rock radio back in the day. A new album came out, they didn't just play the single. They would actually take the best songs of the album and throw them all at you, and in increments here. They wouldn't wait till a song was released as a single, per se. And that was one of the songs we get to hear here on 97 Rock, and believe that's definitely takes you back to that moment in time because back in I think it was 1982, Foreigner came here on the Four tour. I think they did two legs. I believe they came here in 81 as well, but in 82 they came again and they pretty much packed the stadium, our football stadium, Rich Stadium at the time, with a big concert. It was Foreigner, Loverboy, Ted Nugent, and Iron Maiden, and that was like one of the first Bruce Dickinson shows with Maiden. I mean, I sadly it was before my time, so I couldn't go to it. But you know dang well, if it happened, I would have been there if I could have been there. Just a great that era of rock and roll. It's a shame that a lot of that was before my time. But just a great moment in time though, and it's great looking back at some of these older songs that don't really get the true love they deserve, and that's what Nightlife is to me. Just a great song that I've always loved. And that's why I got it for my number 7. So we got Feels Like the First Time, number 8, Nightlife, number 7. And we're taking it back to you for your next two.
And both of those were on my larger list of 28 songs, but did not make the cut, unfortunately. So
Mm-hmm.
good choices on both of those. Okay, moving in to number 6 is a song that you mentioned earlier from Inside Information. Can't Wait, 4.5 minutes, written by Jones and Graham. And this song actually was number 18 on the mainstream rock and roll chart in Billboard 1988 for 12 weeks. So it did chart on the mainstream Billboard chart. And I
Wow.
neglected to say Soul Doctor actually hit number 5 in
Mm.
1992 for 7 weeks. I didn't say that right on my notes here, and I didn't say it. But Can't Wait, you're right. It's the best song on the record on Inside Information. I've always thought that, and I think I heard that on the radio back in the day a little bit.
And
So
that's one of
excellent choice there. Can't
mhm.
wait rules. Love that song. It has that mellow verse and then that slamming chorus with some great hard rock riffing from Mr. Mick Jones on the guitar.
And I think that's one of the great points about what you made. We were talking about this off camera a couple days ago, where you mentioned the rock charts. This is a perfect example. This song was never released as a single, yet it appeared on the rock charts. So
Yep. So
that's pretty a good ranking considering it wasn't released as a single, yet it fared that well on the rock charts.
I used to buy Billboard magazine every week just to look at the mainstream rock chart. I mean, I looked at the top 200 albums and the 100 singles, but I loved the mainstream rock chart. That's what I lived for back in the day. Call me a nutter. Well, I am a nutter. Okay, number five, 3.5 minutes long from 1979, the Head Games album written by Lou Gramm and Mick Jones. It is the title track, Head Games. Love that song. I've always loved that song. My friend had Double Vision on 8 track, and he also had Head Games on 8 track. So we used to listen to these albums on 8 track back in the day, hanging
Mhm.
outside, sometimes inside. One of them had an 8 track on their boombox, one of them had it on their stereo. So that's how I heard these records back in the day. I don't think I owned a Foreigner record till Foreigner 4, actually. I think that
Mm.
was the first one I purchased myself. Because back then you didn't have a lot of disposable income as a kid. So your friends would buy an album and you'd hear it through them. So
Yep.
that's my number six is Can't Wait from Inside Information. And five is Head Games, the title track. Always love that song.
Yep. Yeah, just like I said, Head Games was like the first Foreigner song I ever really heard, and it's definitely, helped me get into the band for sure. I still like Head Games, but we'll see if it ends up on the list or not. We'll leave it at that for now. Keep you
Okay.
guys in suspense, especially with Halloween around the corner here.
Woo.
Exactly. I'm only here for the booze, just so you know. Okay. And not the
I just have water.
Booze. Yeah. All right. So my number six is going to go back to the album I just left off on with my number seven. That's the same album. Number four, Foreigner 4, 1981. I was kind of surprised when I looked and see where this song charted. It fell at number 26. I was really surprised by that because I always thought it was a top 10 song because this is a song that the band is noted for. Um, got a lot of airplay, and I believe it's probably the one that most people know on Foreigner 4 album, but it's just to give you a hint, it's not my number one song on Foreigner 4. So we're going to be talking about that album again. Just a little hint there. Um, but number 26 for this song was kind of surprising. I really thought it was a top 10 the way you used to hear it on the radio and everything. And that's none other than the classic song Jukebox Hero. You mentioned about the jukeboxes. When I saw Foreigner on that Asian Provocateur tour, they just had the one big jukebox. It was right in the center behind Lou and everybody, just for the last song. They didn't have it out at any other point. They had must have had it blown up when they left the stage to come back for the encore, and they ended with Jukebox Hero. So that was pretty interesting.
Well, if anyone saw the Foreigner 4 tour, let us know in the comments below if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Were there two inflatable jukeboxes or just one? Maybe I'm wrong. It's possible. Even the great one makes mistakes sometimes.
But and another interesting side note on Jukebox Hero is they got a special guest on main synthesizers. None other than Mr. Thomas Dolby. Very interesting. I didn't even know that myself, but just your interesting fact of the day. So, and that's what we got there for number six. My number five, speaking of Thomas Dolby in a way, um, 1979, Head Games, Blinded by Science. Obviously, Thomas Dolby had a song, She Blinded Me with Silence, but this one is Blinded by Science. Never released as a single, written by just Mick Jones alone. And man, oh man, this song was not on my initial list. This is the one I was telling you about that. I can't believe
Okay.
it cracked the top five. I don't know where this song was my whole life, but man, listening back to this thing, what an amazing vocal. And just listen to the lyrics. how relevant are the lyrics today from this song? If you look back at the last 4 years, with everything that's going on in the world and everything with COVID and the the political garbage and the election coming up, it all ties in unbelievably, this song. And it's amazing how Lou throughout the song it just builds and builds and builds, and he just really ends this song with a great vocal. Um, the I was definitely surprised how this song ended up so high on my list, but if you never really heard it, you never listened to it, I highly advise you to listen to it and definitely pay attention to the lyrics. That's another thing that I think that really makes it hit home a lot more. Unfortunately, that's what we got. So number five, Blinded by Science, and my number six was Jukebox Hero.
Blinded by Science is a great pick. It was on my larger list, but I think the reason I left it off might be the lyric that always bugs me about it. Although he does have a great vocal performance on that song, and the build of it is excellent, and that crescendo at the end, awesome.
Ugh,
But when he says, "Blinded by Science, I'm not an appliance, don't turn me on," something about that always just bugged me a little bit.
why?
Science appliance, I don't know, just the rhyme just always
Mm,
alienated me just very little. That's probably why it didn't make my list, but it is a great song nonetheless. You should check it out. My number four was released as a single, 1978, from the second album, Double Vision. At 3 minutes and 12 seconds, it's so short, such a great song written by Graham and Jones. Blue Morning, Blue Day. Love the drum work in it, the catchiness, the keyboards, the chorus. Blue Morning, Blue Day is an excellent, catchy rock song, pop rock song, maybe even. And I love it. So that is my number four. Number three, I'm hitting for the first time the debut album from 1977, written by, this is an odd pairing in the band, Al Greenwood and Mick Jones. 4 minutes and 1 second. And you would think it's longer. And I've seen them play this song live. It is Star Rider, a very progressive rock song. Great keyboards, acoustic guitars on it, and Ian McDonald from King Crimson even plays some flute on it too. So
hmm.
this is like a mini little prog number just squished into a 4 minute song. It's excellent. And they do occasionally play it live. So Star Rider is my number three. Blue Morning, Blue Day at number four.
All right, very good. I'm just going to segue right into mine. My number four from the debut album, 1977, features Mick Jones on lead vocals, and then Lou Gramm comes in as well at some points of the song. The same song you just mentioned, Star Rider. Unbelievable. So we got another one to like, and it's very close to what yours was. Yours was number three, mine's number four. And yeah, definitely a great song. They don't play it live anymore because Mick isn't in the band anymore, really. He doesn't tour anymore. So, but they did play it pretty much up until close to the time when Mick stopped touring with them, that's for sure, because I seen it a few times myself,
Me too.
and it was just phenomenal. Even then, even though, these guys had advanced in age, and Kelly Hansen would take over on the Lou Gramm part of the side, on that part of where he came in, and the two voice doesn't matter who Mick sang with on this song. Both versions, whether it's the live version with Kelly or Lou or the original version, phenomenal. Just a great song. Definitely one of the highlights of the Foreigner catalog. It's just a great song. I don't know what else to say about it, but that's what we got for number four. And number three, we're going Double Vision, 1978, peaked at number 15 on the charts, featuring some tasty guitar work and a nice punchy arrangement. And it's a song that I know Lou was still performing on his solo band when he does full shows. The great Blue Morning, Blue Day, which you mentioned just a little while ago. So we basically had the same number three and four, just reversed. Amazing. But we great minds think alike. Yep. So we didn't That's about the closest we've ever come. Uh,
Really, yeah.
having what are the odds of that happening? But it just goes to show you how great quality these songs are if we're both thinking the same. And with a number of songs, like you said, you whittled it down from what, 30,
28.
28. I had about 25. That's just phenomenal. So that's what I got.
Okay, here we go.
Uh-oh.
And number two, which I thought was my number one for a while, but it does sit at number two, written solely by Mr. Mick Jones, 4 minutes, 51 seconds in length, 1981 from the Foreigner 4 album, I'm Gonna Win. Love this song. It's a great
Wow.
deep track. Sits at track number 8 or 9 on Foreigner 4. Definitely not a single, but it's got great guitar work and it just rocks. It's got cojones. Great performance by Lou Gramm on the vocals, and it has that bow, bow, now, 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 now. That really good guitar riff. Love it. I'm Gonna Win is my number two. And coming in at my number one, going back to the debut album from 1977, the self-titled album Foreigner. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I always thought the song was over 5 minutes long. Written by Jones and Graham. The Damage Is Done is my number one song. And you want to talk
Wow.
about a great vocal performance by Lou Gramm? That's my favorite on The Damage Is Done. It's an epic song. It's only in 4 minutes, but it has great instrumentation, great vocal. So that is my number one. The Damage Is Done. Number two, I'm Gonna Win.
Wow. Considering we had number 4 and 3 close to each other, those are two songs I never expected to be on your list. You definitely surprised me.
I
And they're good songs, don't get me wrong. I didn't actually have them on my list when I whittled them down, but those are two. I mean, I think Foreigner, I would assume if I actually went through their whole catalog and just wrote down every song that I actually liked by them, I would have over 70. You know what I mean? So they would definitely be on that list for sure. Um, that's how hard these are. These aren't easy to do. You can usually pinpoint, where a song will fall. But like I said, I mean, I didn't even know Blinded by Science was going to even be on my list, much less at number 5. So yeah, just goes to show you, the great catalogs, deep catalogs. You'll see all kinds of surprises. So
yes.
let's get the old my number 2 and 1 out of the way here, and that's going to take me to a song that was mentioned earlier today, 1981. Peaking at number 26. Is that a theme from this album? Jukebox Hero peaked at number 26, and as well did this song. None other than Break It Up. Just a great song. Used to play on the radio all the time here in Buffalo, New
Yes.
York. A Mick Jones composition. Some reason the band never really liked to play it live much after that Foreigner 4 tour, which is a surprise. It's one of those songs I always expected them to play forever. When an album comes out and you hear these great songs from it, you go, "Oh yeah, that will be in the set list till the end of time," to quote Foreigner. But no, they did do it a few times with Kelly Hansen on a live version of. There's an album out, a live album out from Foreigner from like maybe about 8 years ago or so, where they played it at a special show. That song and Nightlife were both actually on this album live too. And very, very cool that they went back and did that. Um, but it's just a great song. Break It Up has always been one that I've always just simply loved. It's just a great song, and it reached the top 40, so it definitely was a good great song in my estimation, and that's why it's at my number two. Just to tell you, it was tough doing that between that and Blue Morning Blue Day. It's like pick your poison. Like which one do you like better today? It was really hard to narrow it down, but I gave the nod to Break It Up just because I think it's a punchier song. A little bit heavier than Blue Morning Blue Day, and definitely one of my favorites. No doubt, both of them are. But
You know what I neglected to say about Break It
yeah,
Up is the reason it made my list at all. That great middle eight part where everything sort of fades out and you just get that bass line from Rick Wills. boom, 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 boom. And then Lou Graham's vocal, I ask myself, what's wrong with me? That whole part is really good. It's a great middle eight section.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh
that
yeah,
adds to the song. It adds to the drama and the tension of the song.
exactly. Yeah. And then one thing Mick Jones has always said, he's always written a lot of songs about relationships gone bad because he was in a couple relationships that definitely didn't go the way that he had hoped. And man, he came up with some great songs from those experiences. I'll tell you, man, what a catalog. And this isn't the only song that's kind of based upon that situation. So just a great song. But not as great as my number one. Drum roll. Um, an album you despise. This song reached number 12, best song on the album by a mile. And I agree with you to an extent. I believe this album definitely, I liked it more a lot 20 years ago as opposed to now. You know, it definitely sounds dated. I know we did, me and Tom Jennings, Santa Claus there, we did the Foreigner albums. I'm not sure where it ended up, but I think it would fall even lower to this day, unfortunately. But this song is definitely the highlight of the album for me. Same song that you mentioned earlier today. Mick Jones actually calls it his favorite song from that album, surprisingly, even over his big Payday song in I Want to Know What Love Is. He likes this one better. Um, that's going to be none other than That Was Yesterday, my number one choice. Lou Gramm, you know, he doesn't really ever play this song live. I know there was a thing that he was talking about how he was not happy releasing this as the second single because it was two ballads in a row for the singles for this album, Agent Provocateur. And he just didn't like that fact. And think about it though, if they did not hit number one with I Want to Know What Love Is, man, who knows? I don't think Agent Provocateur would have hit, platinum. I really don't. Because as it stands now, it's gone three times platinum, but I think that one song really is the reason why.
Yes.
Even though Inside Information did make platinum, and that album's even weaker in my estimation. I think that's a weaker album. You wouldn't agree with that probably, but because I know you like a couple good songs on Inside Information. I'm not calling Inside Information bad, but I definitely don't like the direction they were going on that album all the way. And that the single that was released that did do really well, they don't even touch that song live. It's hard to believe because it was a top five song.
You mean Say You Will?
No, the ballad that reached number five.
Oh, I Don't Want to Live Without You.
Yep. They don't like that. Some reason, I guess they're not. I guess I don't know. Was that a forced song that the record label forced it upon them to record it? I think that's the song that kind of started to divide that wedge between Lou and Mick even further, because Lou wasn't too big of a fan on all these ballads. And then you make that, and then before you know it, Lou's gone for good until 1992. He left for 5 years or so.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's just my take on it. But yeah. So just to recap, number two, Break It Up. Number one, That Was Yesterday, and just a great list of songs. I really enjoyed doing this ranking. What's your overall take on yours there?
We had four in common, actually. I just counted it up. Break It Up. That Was Yesterday. Blue Morning, Blue Day, and Star Rider. Four songs.
And Can't Wait too, because that was my honorable mention.
Oh yeah, and Break It Up was my honorable mention.
Yeah,
Yeah, so wait, Break It Up, that was yesterday. Can't Wait, Blue Morning, Blue Day, Star Right. Okay, five.
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 Okay, exactly what you would
And I
thought.
said 405. We'd have similar. So
Want to know what's interesting about that?
what?
Four of those songs I'm in my top four. What a weird situation that is.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And then
my
more spread out on my list here.
yeah, interesting. But yeah, just a great time talking Foreigner here. Definitely congratulations to them for finally getting in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know
And
it's
hopefully it'll open the door up for other bands like Styx.
and
Kansas,
REO
and
Speedwagon.
myriad other bands.
I mean, those bands, and it's interesting too, is Foreigner, Styx, REO, Journey. They were kind of all lumped in together. Those were the four big AOR, that type of band, arena rock, whatever you want to call it.
And Kansas was thrown in there too back in the day.
But guess which band was the only out of the four that I mentioned, though, Foreigner, Journey, Styx, and REO. Only one of those bands did not have a number one song. Oddly enough.
It has to be Journey.
Yeah, who would have thought? Because right now, Journey's probably the most popular of those four bands,
Oh, easily, yes.
and they never had a number one song. That's an interesting trivia question. If you throw it up there in a multiple choice question, I'll bet you a lot of people would get that wrong unless they're really astute on their chart history. But
And Foreigner only have 9 studio records, and they're going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, while the other bands I mentioned all have like 15, 16 records.
yeah,
A lot
yep.
more material out there.
Hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah, that's really a weird situation, but definitely glad to see them finally get in. And I think you're absolutely right. I think this is going to open the door for Styx, Kansas, REO for sure, because all those bands that you mentioned too, they all deserve to be there. There's no doubt about it. Those guys were pioneers, and you know, hopefully we'll see some of these guys nominated on the next ballot here, because it does take a while to get in sometimes. But I'm glad to see Foreigner get in, and we'll see what the rest of the list looks like down the road here. Um, So yeah, so great talking to you. Glad, thank you for coming aboard and discussing some great songs of Foreigner. And why don't you tell them about your upcoming channel there, the things that they can expect to see on your channel there.
Yes, on Cretin Classics, I will be ranking the 9 studio records of Foreigner sometime in November. And I just put up some recent Dream Theater content on my channel, ranked these 5 studio records of the Police, reviewed the Renaissance concert I went to on their final tour about 2 weeks ago. I just put that one up. So plenty of stuff up and more stuff coming, including a top 12 tunes of, and I will not say it right now, but that'll be up in November. I have some guests coming on to rank the catalog of the great European British prog rock band IQ. That is also coming up in November on Cretin Classics. So check it out. And thanks for having me on, Joseph.
You're welcome. Yeah, we got a bunch of things coming our way too. Stay tuned as usual, and you'll see some surprise things popping up here and there. Definitely always looking for new content here to help grow the channel, and it's great to see Foreigner get done here with the top 10 songs now. And well, we got more stuff coming, so stay tuned. Till next time, see ya.
Bye bye.